So I asked you to ask me questions, and now it's time to answer the questions I asked you to ask. Try saying that 69 times fast. 69. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Ask Joey Lids about random shit. So I made that video, Ask Me Shit, requesting you to ask me questions, and I said in it, just ask questions fucking rampant all over the video. And you sure did. I expected quite a few questions, but I did not expect nearly as many as I got. I was very pleased to see that and very happy to see that, so thank you all for all the great questions. I read mostly all of them. They were all great, but I had to narrow it down for this video. I chose about roughly 25 questions, but it's a little more because some people asked more than one question, but it's roughly 25, 30-ish. Yeah, that was very awesome. I did not expect that many. So let's dive into this. Do you like guns at all or agree with gun laws? I'm not a gun person. I've never fired a gun. I never want to fire a gun. I'm not against guns. They're just of no interest to me. I have no interest in them. I never have. They're just not an interest of mine. But with the gun laws, it's been pretty much proven that prohibition just doesn't work. It didn't work on alcohol, and it doesn't work on guns or drugs. Criminals will do whatever it takes to acquire their guns, regardless of what a law says. So gun prohibition, it's pointless, to me, in my opinion. But I do believe certain, gun regulations have to be in order. But that's really it. Why do you celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ if you are an atheist? And, hey Joey, you seem to really like the holiday spirit, so why atheist? I really liked these questions, but it's kind of funny. For a long time now, for a month or two, I already had this idea to do this video for Christmas. I did a Halloween video, a Thanksgiving video, and I actually had already had this idea planned out, so I just decided to include these here so you'd see. And the link to that Christmas video is in the description, so you can see it there, where I kind of break it down, and I do answer your questions, among a couple other things, so I just wanted to point that out. 1. How long have you been dipping? I actually had to think long and hard about this one, because honestly, I'm not quite sure when I started. I'm going to say about 3 or 4 years. That's probably inaccurate, but I honestly don't remember, which I'm surprised, because if you mention smoking to me, like, I can tell you, oh yeah, I started smoking in March 2009. But with dipping, I'm not quite sure, but I'm just going to say 3 or 4 years. Don't quote me on that. Not like there's any, evidence out there. 2. How was your first experience with dip? It sucked. And I'm going to tell you the story why. I mean, it's not much of a story, but, it's just why it wasn't good for me. It was 3 or 4 years ago, whenever it was. My friend Brendan and I, we had always been very curious about dip, and neither of us had ever tried it. And we had no clue what any of the brands were. We had no idea what the good stuff was, what the horrible stuff was. So we just kind of ended up getting the cheapest stuff, and because we didn't know. And guess what that cheapest stuff we bought for our first tin was? Longhorn Straight. Shithorn. And I think that's enough said about that and why it was a bad experience. I mean, I didn't get sick or anything. I didn't get nauseous. It's just that, well, I did get nauseous from the flavor, not from the nicotine. But then, like, the second and third time I tried dip, and I never really got sick. I've never puked from dip. The closest I came was, it was around that time. I was over at my friend Alex's house with my other friend Mike, and I had my first tin of Grizzly Wintergreen, and I took a little more than I bargained for because I didn't have the tolerance built up yet, and I didn't get sick or puke or anything, but I just got a little nauseous. But that's the worst it ever was for me. I mean, dipping for me was pretty much a breeze. I pretty much understood that. You kind of just start with small lips and just go bigger and bigger as time rolls on. And 3. How long have you been into writing your own music? I'm just going to assume for all intents and purposes you're talking about lyrics, not necessarily composing the music to go along with the lyrics like I do now, because I'd been into writing lyrics since long before I played guitar and long before my voice didn't sound like rape occurring. Because trust me, if you heard what my singing sounded like 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be like, this guy is dead to me. I no longer wish to watch his videos. I want nothing to do with him because that is a disgrace to humanity. And the sad thing is, you probably think I'm kidding. Just no, I'm not. But I started picking up writing lyrics when I was in 9th grade. I had always hated school since I was a little tiny-ass kid. It really occurred to me early that school sucks ass. Hence part of the reason why I dropped out, and why I'm proud to have dropped out. I know people think, you know, he's a driplet, he's a scumfuck. You know what? I enjoy my life, I'm happy, I love my family, I love my friends, and so I don't give a fuck what you think about me. Anyways, I digress like fuck. But since I hated school so much, I would come into school late every single day. And that means I had to stay for detention for 20 minutes every single day. And instead of just sitting there bored, because I didn't like reading at the time, reading books. I do like reading now, but I didn't at the time. I just said, well, you know, I've loved music since I was a little kid, and I sing, even though I suck ass, because I did at the time. So why don't I just kind of jot down some lyrics, and I just started getting into it, and so it was 9th grade for me for that. And then I didn't start getting into composing my own music until I think I wrote my first and composed my first song in September 2011. It was actually for my English class. We had to write a song based on the epic poem Beowulf, which is a good poem. And I actually got to come into the class with my guitar and play the song. And, you know, it was fun. You know, of course, school had a few upsides. That was one of them, because my teacher was actually good instead of being an uptight cockhead. His name was Mr. Savage. Best teacher I've ever had in my whole life. Nicest guy ever. I mean that. So, Mr. Savage, if you're ever watching this, because he's actually watched some of my videos. If you're watching this, just know you're the best teacher I ever had in my life. I want you to know that. Okay, anyways, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, yeah. You know, because I was still very mediocre at guitar at the time. But, you know, I just used simple chords, and then I said, you know, it just sparked my interest in composing, because I had never really thought I was ready to do it until then, and I said, you know, the class liked it and everything, so I said, you know what, that's it. So, you know, lyric-wise, 9th grade, which would have been 2009, 2010, and for, you know, composing the music and everything, too, that would be September 2011-ish. So, yeah. Was your brother a dipper? He wasn't for the last stage of his life. He did experiment with dip when he was in high school, but he always was more into the chew. He always told me that he enjoyed the chew more. Redman, of course. You know, so he had a phase with it, but chew was his forte. And, you know, in those teenage years, later on he became a smoker, and he just didn't really bother with it anymore. Do you consider yourself a happy, successful person? Absolutely. I'm overall a very happy person. I don't have an angry or, you know, sad or lonely kind of, you know, feelings that just kind of, you know, linger up there. I don't have that. I feel happy, and I think an outlet for that, obviously, is stuff like music and, you know, videos and everything. You know, it makes me feel good, and it gives me, you know, it releases the dopamine in the brain and just gets me going. But I think one of the reasons I feel so happy and successful to, you know, right now, is during about the second half of my childhood, probably ages 11, 12 to 15, I was extremely depressed. I was obese, and just it was just terrible. I wasn't able to have a regular childhood, and there were even a couple times where I was suicidal. And it was rough for me and my family, and it wasn't me causing this pain on my family. It was another family member with their problems who was inflicting it on us, and that's why I reacted like I did, and why I became depressed, and why it changed my family. But I'm not going to get into that. But the reason I bring that up is because when you've been to your lowest low, and then many years later, you're where I am now, you feel like you're at your highest high. You feel so happy, and you feel proud of yourself for overcoming what you overcame, and I do. And I think that's one way I'm a success. I also think I'm a success because I love my family very much, and I spend time with them, and I let them know that I love them, as opposed to most teenagers who just don't care about their families. Also, I'm hardworking. You know, I know someone in the comments is going to bring up, well, you dropped out of high school. How's that successful? Listen, there's plenty of high school dropouts who are successful, okay? Dropping out of high school has nothing to do with success. Success means you enjoy your life, and your families enjoy seeing you enjoy your life. You do things that make you happy. You do things that you enjoy that aren't at the detriment of others. You work hard. That's what, to me, success is, and those are qualities that I have. And that's why I consider myself a success, even though I dropped out of high school. That's my refute to that shit. When did you start playing the guitar? And can you make a song for me? Let me just clarify, I'm completely self-taught. I've never had a guitar lesson in my life, and I prefer it that way. You know, I took singing lessons for 2 years, but never for guitar. I didn't feel it was necessary. But it was my my New Year's resolution, 2010 going into 2011. It was a rough year because September 2010 my brother Matt had died. And it was the only time I had ever made a New Year's resolution. I actually made two, to learn to play the guitar and to lose the weight, because after Matt died I put on a lot of weight because I was depressed. Which, you know, I think that's pretty understandable. People in really situations like that either gain weight or lose. I'd rather gain. At least you can lose it, you know. Losing too much can cause permanent damage. So I made that, and so I got my acoustic for that Christmas, and then I made my commitment. And I took it from there, and I just used the internet and some chord books some of my cousins had given me. And you know, it was difficult to get going, but so I started in January 2011, and then by March 2011 I could play my first full song, which is "The Old Apartment" by Bare Naked Ladies. And then it seemed like from that point onward it was a pretty steady climb. So yeah, so that is almost 3 years. I have two questions, if it's all right. One, where do you stand politically? I myself am an independent. I'm a Democrat, hate if you wish. I don't hug trees, but I occasionally fuck them. And two, do you love me? Yes, I do. I love you so much that I fuck myself in the ass at night and I pretend I'm fucking you. What kind of car do you drive, or what is your dream car? The car I drive is my dream car. It was my great-grandfather's car, and then it was passed to my great-aunt, then to my uncle, then to my grandmother. So it's a family car. It's a 1996 Buick Century. For being in 1996, it only has 86,000 miles on it. That's pretty good. The thing it's in mint condition. There's not a dent, ding, or any rust on it. I had a bunch of work done to it, and I love that car because it's a great car and it's very reliable. But also because it's just the sentimental value, you know. My great-grandfather, Gumpy, he's, you know, he died. So it's a good memory of him. He loved that car and he was very proud of that car, you know, and so sentimental value to me is very important. But that's my car. That's the car I have, is my dream car. While drinking Mountain Dew Throwback, have you ever had the sudden urge to turn into a dolphin and fly to the moon? Yes, on many occasions. I've also stretched my scrotum to infinity and beyond and used it as a hula hoop / jump rope. Are you a Bruins fan? Nope. I'm not a fan of any sports teams, for any sports. I've never been into sports, into watching sports or playing. It's just never been my thing, which is funny because I grew up in a household where everyone loves sports, love playing them and love watching them, and I never have. I always just took to music. Even before I sang or played guitar, music was my thing, you know, just to listen to. I never had an interest in sports. You know, I don't even know what the fucking interception is. I've heard the word a million times. I don't know what sport it applies to. I don't know what it means. I don't watch sports. I tried getting into them in like 2008, and it just failed. It's like I just ended up falling asleep every time I tried to watch a game. So I'm just not into sports. You know, it's just not my thing. But if you are, that's fine. It's no problem. Shove a football up your ass. Hey Joey, I'm 17 and love black and milds. Wine wood tip is my favorite, and I'm tired of having people buy them for me. My question is, how did you buy your cigars when you were underage? Thanks from Deshaun in Jacksonville. Well, I'm lucky to have the advantage of looking older than I am, or so I'm often told. When I did that Black and Mild wine review and I said I just turned 18, people were like, I thought you were 25. So I've always used that to my advantage. I've always gone to the family-owned convenience stores. Don't go to like the chains and everything, because they card you. But I get lucky. A lot of the family-owned places never carded me. So that's pretty much how I did, So I got pretty lucky, yeah. I mean, I might not be thinking I'm so lucky when I'm going through my fucking midlife crisis, but I look older than I am now, and I enjoy it. For now. We'll see how that turns out in 40 years. Top 5 bands not including BNL, and what is the biggest shit you have ever taken? I know you said top 5 bands. I don't know if you saw, I replied to your comment asking, can that include just artists too, or does it have to be bands? I don't believe you replied back to me. So I'm just going to take it as it can be artists and bands, not to be a cheap ass, but because for some reason I like artists more. Not more, but I like more artists than I like bands, I guess. But in no particular order, my 5 top favorites besides BNL are Great Big Sea, Johnny Cash, Eminem, Bob Dylan, and Bob Marley. And as for your fucked up second question, the biggest shit I ever took had a circumference of bejesus and back, so it was quite large. The hemorrhoids popped like shit. Titch rat. Ass by a long shot. When/what age did you decide music is what you wanted to do with your life? Well, I always had a thing for music ever since I was pretty much a toddler. I always just had this thing for music, almost a hunger for it. It wasn't until I was about 9 or 10 where I was like, yeah, I want to be a superstar. I want to be a famous singer. And now I'm like, I don't care if I'm famous or not. I don't care if I can make money singing or not. The thing is, I play music and people like listening, and that's what's important to me. That's all that matters. I know that that I'll probably never make a career out of it. Maybe make some money, but that's okay. I'm happy with what I have now. But anyways, for music, wanting to play music, 9 or 10. What do you think about reincarnation? I find it very interesting to read about. I've read up on it, a decent amount. I haven't read a ton, but I do find it intriguing. But still, I think it's utter bullshit. It's based around souls. Once your body dies, your soul goes to something else, and it's re-registered as something else. Whatever. It's based around souls, and I don't believe in souls. I believe what we are is all in our brain. It's our head, it's our body, it's our organs. And once that all shuts down permanently, we are no longer. That's what I believe to be correct. So reincarnation to me just sounds like a fairy tale. Interesting. I could see why people, back in the old days would think that, but I think now it's pretty much been proven that it's impossible. I think maybe not 100%, but it's just so unlikely that I don't believe in it. But it's interesting. XXH#XX asked 2 questions. 1, what's your favorite family memory? I've thought about this one a lot, and it's very difficult to answer because I can't think of one specific memory. I just remember, the memories I have are just family together and just enjoying ourselves, whether we be out at family cookouts or whatever, or we're just sitting at home on a Friday night watching fucking SpongeBob on TV. There's no specific things. Family is family, and any memory I have of family is an enjoyable one, so I can't pick just one. Sorry. And 2, what's the saddest and happiest day of your life? I think the saddest day of my life, without a shadow of a doubt, is the day that my brother Matt died. I think that pretty much goes without saying, because I've lost, great-grandparents, But, you know, those are expected. You know, you're going to lose great-grandparents and grandparents and eventually parents. And usually you see it coming, but with Matt, he was 22, we were very close, and just out of nowhere, because he was in perfect health, it was the saddest day of my life, no doubt. As for the happiest day of my life, I think the happiest day of my life was probably the day I could finally play my first full song on a guitar, which I already said in a previous answer in this video was The Old Apartment by Bare Naked Ladies, because then I realized I can actually do this, and I have been doing this ever since. So I would say that's probably it.
What are your thoughts on the shooting recently?
It's terrible, but it just goes to show that we don't live in a very nice world. These kind of things are happening around the globe pretty constantly. Maybe not constantly, but very frequently, and it's terrible, but it can't be stopped. It's going to happen, and it's always out of nowhere in the least suspectable places. You know, it's horrible. All those kids died, and a few adults that died. But can't change it now. I mean, I don't want to sound like a cold-hearted fuck, but you know, it's if someone I knew or a friend or family member had died in that, it'd be different. I'd be crying and sobbing. But since I don't know those people, I can kind of look at it with more rationale and say, well, yeah, it's sad, but it's happening all the time, and what are you gonna do? It's horrible. But yeah, it just goes to show we live in a horrible world. I'm moving to fucking Jupiter.
Has YouTube changed your life?
I definitely like to think it has. I got my first YouTube account in 2006, so, you know, I was pretty young. But I would just make these really goofy, really terrible skits and everything with my friends. But it was so much fun, and it was just something to do when you're bored. It's not that hard. And now for me, it's a place where I can talk about myself and vent a bit, and it's a great outlet. I've always loved it, and not only for being able to put up my own content, but also content from others. I mean, sure, a lot of YouTubers suck. You know, Ray William Johnson could suck my fucking dangling schlong. But you know, like my favorite YouTuber, The Amazing Atheist, who's influenced me and I think shaped a lot of my views for me, and I wouldn't have had that if it weren't for YouTube. But overall, you know, like, if it weren't for YouTube, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. It's a big deal. Just as any really popular site we all use is. It's definitely changed my life. I'm not sure exactly in what ways, but without a shadow of a doubt, it has. I know that. Definitely. I've spent countless hours on YouTube since 2006, so how could it not? Come on, it has.
How tall are you?
About 7 inches. Oh, you weren't talking about my schlong? Oh, you're just talking about me. Oh, I'm 5'11 3/4, so pretty much 6 feet. Yeah. And my schlong's 7. Don't forget that, ladies.
How do your parents feel about you smoking cigars and dipping?
Well, say back when I was 15 and my parents caught me with a cigar, they'd be pissed. They'd make me put it out. But they are smokers themselves, so now they don't care, you know, because they're not hypocrites. They realize that it'd be hypocritical to do so, and you know, considering all that our family's been through and everything, that it's kind of understandable why I started smoking in the first place. Because although I had smoked before, you know, like Matt's death and everything, it was at Matt's death where I really started heavily. I mean, I've cut back since, but that's where I started, you know, addiction. But yeah, they don't care anymore. They're fine with it.
Hey, I lost a family member close to me. How did you react when you lost your brother?
Looking back on that night, it has to be the most vivid memory I have, because I remember it so well. It was about 4:45 a.m. I was up late as I usually am. I was on Blog TV, just goofing around and just talking to my friends and having just a normal show like I used to do before I started bringing music into it. And so everything's perfectly fine. And suddenly I get a call on my cell phone from my grandmother. And I pick it up and she's crying and she says, go wake up your dad. It's an emergency. And my dad talked to her and he hung up the phone, and first time I ever seen my dad actually cry. He just grabbed me and hugged me and started crying. My mom is a nurse. She works in the intensive care unit. She was at work when she found out. She was so bad that she couldn't even drive home. And sorry. It was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever been through. I couldn't even believe it. As soon as my dad grabbed me and was crying and told me, it's like my consciousness slipped into like a different, not a different dimension, but it changed, and it suddenly felt like everything was just a dream. Everything just felt like a dream. And I went to therapy for a while after this, and my therapist, he was the best therapist I could ask for. His name was Ryan Daly. He was a very nice guy. He says that's our body does that during the grieving process to protect us from ourselves. And I found it very interesting, but I just remember that feeling so well, and it's a feeling I'd never ever felt before, and I hate that feeling. It was a horrible feeling, but apparently, who knows, it could have saved my life. But everything just felt like a dream for a couple weeks afterwards, and I just didn't even know how to react. It was so bad that I didn't even cry, because I was just out of emotions. I was just like, I don't even know what to do with myself. Like I just didn't know. It was horrible. It took a lot to overcome it, but I finally have, and I'm glad, because that's what Matt would have wanted. But that night was the worst night of my life.
Do your parents know that you're an atheist, and do they support your beliefs?
Yes, they do. And they do support me. They respect me. You've probably heard me say before that I grew up in a Catholic house, technically, but we were never religious. We never went to church. My parents never taught us about God or hell or anything like that. So we were never religious. And as a matter of fact, my parents are now agnostic. So if you don't know what that means, it means they don't have a particular religion, but they do believe there is some higher power out there. And I just don't believe that there is a higher power. So, it's not like they're extremely like devout, Christians or anything. They don't really care. They respect that, and I think in a way they respect me for finally finding myself after not really knowing for a long time. It's very good. I got to tell you, I have the best parents in the world. I love my parents more than anything. Honestly, best parents.
Since you dropped out of high school, do you currently have a job? If so, what is it and where do you work?
Yep, I've been at my job for a few months now. It's at a pub just a few minutes down the street. I'm currently the pizza cook, and I love it. Good pay. My coworkers are all awesome. My boss is very nice. I love it, the hell out of it. I currently feel, and this could change over time, but you never know. I currently feel like I could stay there my whole life and enjoy that job. Maybe not, but it doesn't matter, because I'm still active. I'm on my feet, and I'm in a good place right now. It's a great job. Pretty soon I'm going to be promoted to fry cook. I'm going to be frying all the shit, in oil. Yeah, they don't actually fry shit, just French fries, chicken, seafood. That'll be cool. I just hope I don't burn myself. I burn like shit. Imagine getting hot boiling oil in your goddamn nutsack.
Okay, so what makes life worth living?
Well, that varies greatly from person to person. Everyone has a different thing to live for, and some people don't, so they off themselves. But if you're particularly pertaining to what makes my life worth living, what I think makes my life worth living, friends, family, music, and my computer. Yeah, that's what makes my life worth living.
Hang on, 'cause this is deep! What's your favorite frickin' color?
My favorite color is blue. I love the fuck out of blue. Blue's the best color in the world. In second place is green, but blue's the best. I love all blue. I like dark blue, I like light blue, I like baby blue. Blue rocks, man. No, really, I love blue. And I believe that is now the end. I can already tell that this video is going to be a bitch load to edit. But I hope you enjoyed it, and please, if you did enjoy it, please like it, thumb it up, comment if you'd like, favorite if you'd like, but the thumb up is the biggest part. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.